Hey y'all, welcome to Let Students Lead, a benefit for the Center for Supportive Schools, also known as CSS. Thank you for joining us from your homes this evening to celebrate the work of CSS in creating hundreds of safe, supportive, engaging, and inspiring schools in 14 states and the District of Columbia. I'm Darius Jones, a graduate of Urban Assembly School for Music and Art right here in Brooklyn, New York. I was a PGC leader for a year, and I was able to click with people that I never thought the universe would bring into my life. And overall, PGC gave me the tools and confidence that I needed in order not only to be a stronger leader, but a better individual within the community. Plus, I got to meet and make some amazing memories with such beautiful spirits, our mentees.
Hi everyone, my name is Janika Jackson and I'm a youth consultant for CSS. Just like Darius here, I'm also a graduate of Urban Assembly School for Music and Art. In my senior year, I became a PGC mentor and I fell in love with the program ever since. I was able to interact and guide students in a manner that I wish someone had done for me. Once I graduated, I kept in contact with our community school director from CSS and co-created a position for myself and my co-leader Kiana as youth consultants for CSS. Our main goal is to bring more youth voice into the organization.
We'll be your host this evening as we hear from students, educators, and community members about their experiences in the past year and the role that CSS programs like Peer Group Connection that Janika and I served in as peer leaders have helped within this time.
CSS is a national nonprofit organization that helps schools become places where students actually want to be. CSS partners with schools to develop leaders and supports collaboration on 3 levels: students, educators, and whole school communities, with the goal of improving how learning happens. Over the past year, as we've all experienced, our connections to friends, mentors, and family members has been what has sustained us. These 3 connections are the heart of CSS. Let's learn more about CSS's main student leadership program, Peer Group Connections, through this clip of peer leaders from Hightstown, New Jersey.
We're both in a program called PGC, which is formerly known as Peer Group Connection, which binds seniors and freshmen, where the seniors mentor the freshmen and help with the transition period from middle school to high school.
So we have these kids who kind of just lack the confidence of like social skills. We also have the kids who really struggle in school, who don't like listening to the rules.
We grab people from all different walks of the high school life, people who play sports, people who have a rough home life, people who have a perfect home life.
Even those kids who may seem like they have a great high school experience, great home life, they're still getting so much out of it that it's kind of just like an equal opportunity for everyone.
It's really all around, and I think that's the beauty of it, where we don't look at just one person we want to help. We want to help everyone who's in this building. The great thing that I want to do, my partner want to do, is be someone that can be honest and genuine with, but also give them good advice.
A lot of these kids may not have older siblings or someone that they've connected with, so having a senior, not a teacher, advisor, can kind of create a connection where it's like, okay, like, look, I have this cool older friend, like, that's been helping me out. Like, look at how great it's been. So I was really hoping that I would be able to be that for someone and hope that it would help make their freshman year a little easier on them.
I always struggled with mental health as one of my biggest struggles, and my sexuality. And without this program, I wouldn't be here. I had to realize if I came into high school struggling, there must be so many people who are hiding and just looking for someone to open up to. So I realized I had to join this program and be a part of it and be the representation that I didn't see in my school. I had to be the gay kid that people can look up to and say, he came out, I can do it. I had to be the kid with depression and anxiety. And when they see that you take that gamble a little bit of opening up, they say, okay, if it's safe for him, it's safe for me.
I've had some of the kids reach out to us, say, how are you guys doing? You guys are always asking how we're doing, checking in on us. We want to know how you're doing. And it's like, okay, like these kids genuinely care. They understand.
You need to build that connection, have a place where you can just let go and take a deep breath and just let it all out.
Our first speakers this evening join us from North Carolina, New Jersey, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens to talk about their role as student leaders. As we've seen, young people have continued to step up in recent times, leading protests against racial injustice, advocating for the restoration of funding for summer jobs programs, and demanding safe environments for the return to school. Join me in welcoming Jordan Havens, graduate of Hightstown High School, leading a conversation with our current and former peer leaders.
Hello, my name is Jordan Havens, and I'm a graduate and former peer leader of Hightstown High School, and I'm currently a sophomore at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Today, I'm joined by several current and former peer leaders who are going to share what their experiences have been like.
Hello, my name is Nate, short for Nathaniel, and I'm a senior, a two-time PGC leader at Morris High School.
My name is Kayla. I attend Urban Assembly for Music and Art, and I am currently a PGC mentor.
I'm Madeline. I'm a senior at Hobson High School in North Carolina, and this is my second year being a PGC leader.
Hi, I'm Litzy. I'm a former PGC leader at Flushing High School and currently a freshman in Manhattan College.
So today, these formal peer leaders are just going to be answering some questions about how their experience with PGC has impacted them and may still be impacting them today. Thinking about the young people you worked with, what are some ways that you saw them change during their course of time that they spent with you? Can you describe a moment where you felt the program impacted your freshmen?
Definitely, one day during school, one of my mentees was having a bad day. And I saw them in the hallway and they pulled me aside and was like, hey, this is going on and I just need somebody to talk to. And in that moment, I realized that, wow, like we really do have an effect on the young kids, even though they're not that much younger than us. I felt as though it was an accomplishment to know that I got close enough to this student to the point where they can come to me about their issues. And I was a mentee when I first joined high school. So once I became a mentor, I just always constantly had the mindset of how they felt or how I felt, and that's how I kind of just thought to build my connection was just to continuously put myself in their shoes.
I have ESL kids Spanish primarily. So whenever I spoke to them, they never truly listened at first. And then with that, how you had to explain, more about you, I told them that I knew how it felt like being an ESL kid because I was close to being one myself since English is technically not my first language. Had to learn it, so I understood the struggle of learning a new language. So when I told them that, they finally had like, I could talk to her with anything. I could be comfortable with her pulling her aside.
That's always a great breakthrough. As someone who was a mentee and a mentor, and I also mentored ESL students, I can definitely relate. Thinking about yourselves, what are some ways that you've changed during your time as a peer leader?
I think over time in PGC, I made a decision to, let's say, come out of my comfort zone and push my boundaries in ways that I never thought I would as a freshman. I began to realize what exactly that I like to do. I found where I fit in, which is things like PGC leadership roles. I found that they made me into the person that I am today.
What has been the most challenging and what has been the most rewarding about being a mentor?
When I joined PGC last year, I didn't know the people that I was co-leading with. And so once I went to the retreat and we did our breakthrough outreaches and stuff, then I realized like, wow, me and these people actually have a lot in common. But, of course, there are always going to be some things that you don't agree on. So the most challenging part is being able to communicate with you in a way that doesn't interrupt how we communicate with the mentees. I think that was the most challenging part, like always trying to make sure we was on the same page. And the most rewarding part was when when I actually saw the mentees using the skills we taught them outside of PGC, because then that shows me that they actually pay attention to what I'm saying during that moment.
Several of you have talked about how PGC has helped build your communication skills. What ways have you used your communication skills outside of school to talk about issues that are important to you?
PGC has definitely taught me how to communicate a lot better. Before PGC, I knew a little bit about having a open-minded conversation, but with PGC, it taught me how to properly communicate and actually take the time to listen to what the person is saying. So learning those skills, I was able to then use those with friends or family members that, when we have serious conversations with everything that's going on in the world right now, everybody wants to use their voice, but not everybody knows how to. So for me, it was just constantly about posting how I'm feeling, but still being mindful of the other people who may feel different from me.
I want to recognize that last school year was a challenging one in many ways for all of us, and that having schools closed was a huge barrier for the PGC program. What were some strategies that you guys used or maybe still use now, because a lot of schools are online, when you tried to stay in touch with students in the spring, or when it was a challenge for you to set up meetings for you and your students?
One main thing me and my partner did to stay in touch was basically just like probably send them a message on social media, check out how they're doing, like check in on how they're doing, check in on how their family doing, because we can all agree that last spring, like it took a toll on us mentally and emotionally, especially with our schoolwork. And I feel like having leaders to check in with you, it meant a lot to them because it showed that people outside like their family and friends actually cared about them and they cared about their well-being.
Why do you think PGC is important, especially in the times we're living in?
I have a lot of friends that do have mental health issues, and it's just so difficult right now in a time of isolation to not be around their peers and not have someone to talk to. And I think PGC really is that place for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people are stuck in their houses with families that they really can't talk to about certain issues. But as a leader, they can come to us and express those feelings that they're having. So I think it's really important to have right now.
A lot of people are kind of struggling during these time stigmas, but also, as Madeline said, a lot of people don't have the resources that you may think they have through their family members or even still through social media. It can be a very intimidating place on who to reach out for help. So even though sometimes the kids don't want to participate in PGC in the way we want them to, but at the end of the day, sometimes them knowing that we are always there for them, no matter what, they will always have the mentors there for them, that can be like a lifeline in a time like this when you may not know it. What is giving you hope or inspiration right now?
The main thing that's giving me hope and inspiration would be the people that I surround myself with. That meaning my family, I see them every day. My friends, I see them anytime I can. And especially school, the school administration, the principal, the teachers. I feel like coming into this new school year, they all tried their best to make our school year, especially my last school year, like welcoming, comfortable for all of us. Even though we know we're not in a comfortable time, they tried their best to have it feel like it's regular school, especially with PGC.
Especially with stuff like PGC, what keeps me going and motivated is the fact that one day we can reestablish order and kids can go back to having the old PGC that I loved. And although the adaptations are working as they can right now, we all love the experience of just being able to connect in person and have like the in-person retreats and the in-person activities.
I'm starting something new. I'm starting like the path to my career, finally deciding what I want to be. So that's what motivates me, like sort of like the unknown of what's going to happen. But it's also like the unknown is what makes me want to go for it.
I know right now it's really tough, especially getting kids to show up for just a normal outreach. But it keeps me going to know that at least if one kid will show up, I can impact that one kid's experience in high school. And that's really all that matters, is just as long as you can help one person get where they need to be and be successful and confident in themselves. That's really why I'm doing this.
And that is it for our questions today. I want to thank you guys for joining me today in this. I hope you all and everyone else stay safe during these unprecedented times and has a safe and healthy winter.
As family members around the world who have stepped in to support their children's learning really appreciate now, educators are heroes. In CSS schools, educators play an important role in developing students into leaders, in being caring mentors to students who need it, and in strengthening the school culture that helps students feel safe and supported. CSS is proud of the educators in our schools and the dedication they show to their students day in and day out. We want to introduce you to an outstanding educator from Potomac High School in Prince George's County, Maryland, Miss Mackenzie.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ray Gallagher, and I'm joined today by Miss Mackenzie from the Potomac High School in Prince George's County, Maryland. So welcome. Thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
So you were a coach for several years before becoming a social studies teacher at Potomac, and you've had a long history of involvement at Potomac High School. How were you prepared to teach the PGC class for peer leaders?
It's a strange question for me because I never feel prepared to do anything. I'm always kind of like frantic. But my team and my administrative staff, they really like revealed all the things that I had already done and how that would connect with what we're trying to do. And so I realized that the rapport that I built with students through sports would transfer over, and it would be an awesome way to bring social emotional into the school building, because typically we only deal with those things after school hours.
In what ways have you seen PGC change your students over the course of PGC at Potomac?
Oh man. So this year students were really, really looking forward to, first of all, the retreat. It was like everybody heard about it and was like, oh, I definitely want to be a part of PGC. You guys are doing something different. And the students didn't come back the same way they left. So just over that short amount of time, they had built some really good bonds, and it was students that you would never imagine being in the same space together, let alone having a conversation. So I would say that PGC has changed the students in the regard that they are more adamant about creating that family and close-knit structure in Potomac.
So in what ways have you seen PGC change other people's opinions about your students?
They offer my students more grace. For a long time, it was just kind of like, well, they don't care about themselves, so why should we care? We're doing it because we have to. But students are showing up, and they're saying, give me a chance. I will take this seriously, and I will try. And I do want to show you guys something different than what's outside of our school bells. So PGC really creates a platform for them to show the world something different. PGC is one of the few programs that emphasizes selecting students based on what we think they can do. They don't have to be the brightest student. They don't have to have all the honors. And so we took that and we ran with it. And so if you wanted a chance to be a leader, or you thought you could be a leader, we took that child. And we got a little bit of pushback from administration because when you hear the word leader, that's what you're expecting, right? You draw a picture of a student in your brain, and that's what you stick to. And my team, we went against the grain, and we stood up for a few kids that were, I guess, some would say bad apples, and they turned the ninth grade around with the help of the teachers. But they changed the attitudes of the students, and students are part of the LGBTQ community. They felt comfortable. The ESOL students, they felt comfortable. Athletes felt comfortable. It was like everybody was on the same page and was willing to have the same conversations comfortably without feeling like you were going to be an outcast.
So how do you see the PGC peer leader class becoming an opportunity for students to process what they're going through, either in this pandemic or just in general?
Typically in academia, we want you to demonstrate your knowledge in writing, and students are over it. They don't want to write. They don't want to see any more graphic organizers. They don't want to do it your way. They just want the opportunity to get it out. So PGC has created that space. Now our students are finding their voices and they're willing to speak and advocate for themselves and the things they need, and even the teachers. So I would just have to emphasize how much of a community impact that PGC has inside and outside of the classroom.
How have your students and their families been impacted by the pandemic, by COVID, and by the school closures that have happened?
When schools are closed, our students don't have anywhere to go. And when I say they don't have anywhere to go, anywhere structured to go. So, with schools being closed, we lost a few students to gun violence. We've lost some family members to COVID. And so it's really kind of affected the attitudes and emotions of students and faculty. But I will say that although there have been negative components from the spring up until now, we've done a very, very good job in pulling together and creating that family that's needed right now.
What support do you think teachers need to be successful during these times?
If we could get some more time, I think that's really all the support we need. Of course, acknowledgement, because we're working hard. Some of us are in grad school. Actually, a lot of us in my building are in grad school. Several of us have children, and so we're trying to balance everything. And it's kind of like, are we a teacher today, or are we a parent today? Are we a teacher and a student? Like, what do we do? And we all have the same 24 hours, but for a teacher, it really just feels like we don't have enough. So, if at all, support could be given in, just arranging the day-to-day schedule so that we get a chance to plan properly.
I really want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us about your experience with PGC, Peer Group Connection in Potomac, but also for your dedication and your commitment to not just this program, but your students and school community as a whole. Having worked with you for over a year now, I think it's really clear your commitment to students and for lifting up their leadership and their voice. And so I just really appreciate you and everything that you're doing, and for taking the time to share with us at CSS your experiences with PGC.
Thank you, Ray. It's been awesome.
In communities across the country, school systems have invested time and resources into finding ways to support schools as hubs of the community, meaning that schools provide access to mental health, medical and social services for students, and resources for families such as food and clothing. Importantly, community schools see families and surrounding communities as partners in educating children.
CSS staff members are working hand in hand with 23 community schools in New York City and Jersey City, engaging the community to improve how learning happens. As we've said earlier, families are critical members of any school community. We're going to hear now from PS15 parent leader Elizabeth Carter and lead community school director Cynthia Renta in Jersey City about the value of community schools in these challenging times.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Renta. I'm a lead community school director for the Center for Supportive Schools. And I am here this morning with my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful community member, parent, and PS15 Parent Council President, Miss Elizabeth Carter. Good morning, Miss Carter.
Good morning, Ms. Renta.
I wanted to get a little bit of your take of what it means to be a community school.
To me, a community school is a school where we open up and develop relationships with outside resources in the community. We develop a partnership with them, and they help us help the kids and the families grow. You just never know what's going on these days, and a lot of people don't know where they can go for information, job placement and social services. And to me, it's just developing like a partnership outside the school with people that can help our kids and families grow.
We have a beautiful neighborhood. We have a wonderful neighborhood. We are in the Greenville section of Jersey City. And also, we have also experienced as a community high poverty and all of the things associated with high poverty. And part of what I would love to get your perspective about is how us being a community school has impacted the community. And also, how do we go about creating community? What have we done to create a sense of community?
It's like the light in the community. When they come there, some of the kids, they're not, the happiest of homes, or they don't have. First, we started the coat drive, and then we started to recycle the uniforms. We asked for recycled uniforms. Now everybody's able to have and look like each other and not just stand out and be like, oh, I get it. Some people don't always have, but the kids knew that if they needed something, they knew where to come.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the impact of community schools on your family specifically.
You had a breakfast for the kids and the mentors. And they, the kids are all off to one side, and then the mentors came in, and then you told everybody who was going to be with who. And the mentor and the mentee sat down and had breakfast together, and they were talking to one another. And the kids were able to open up, and Phaedra was one of them. I was watching from a distance, nosy mother, but I was watching and just seeing my child, who's normally shy and, standoffish and just like, okay, now I'm going to just blend in with the wall. She was able to talk to her mentor. When you first met my mom, she had went through a phase where she had all these surgeries, and because she had cancer, and she became like slightly disfigured, but she was really shy about going out the house. You welcomed my mother with open arms, and you didn't look at her and made her feel uncomfortable. You just, oh, Miss Wanda, and you made my mom feel comfortable.
You're an essential worker. You work nights and have seen probably the worst parts of the pandemic, being a hospital worker and an essential worker. And so I wanted to ask you how community schools has impacted you during this time, dealing with COVID-19 and the impact it's had in our community.
I will tell you, I miss having monthly meetings where the parents would come out and we will all, discuss what's going on. Now we do the Zoom meetings with the parents weekly, not once a month, weekly, to find out what's going on with them. Do they need anything? Is everything all right? Are the kids experiencing any problems logging in? Are they having any trouble with any classes? Every week we talk to parents.
Right now we're in this unprecedented moment in time. How do you see yourself impacting our children?
We're trying to keep the kids motivated to want to do their classwork, because it's rough for them to be on their screen time all day. And the kids, we got little groups, and we're getting ready to start a reading group with the grades, and just to see the kids, communicate outside of school, outside of the learning atmosphere. And, because it's harder on them too, because, it's a whole generation that's going to forget how to socialize. But not at Team Young. We all stay connected all the time.
I thought we could wrap up with maybe just sharing 3 words with how you're feeling after our conversation, being in reflection about community schools.
I feel a lot of love. I feel very encouraged. And I feel very blessed. Because I'm part of Team Young.
I love
Team Young. Team Young all day, baby.
Now we'd like to welcome Andrew Farrer, Secretary of CSS's Board of Trustees.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight for this virtual event for Center for Supportive Schools. We're glad you're all here. First of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors who have contributed to the fundraising efforts for tonight, in particular our lead sponsor, General Atlantic. I'd also like to thank my fellow board members who contribute their valuable time supporting CSS and achieving its mission. I'd like to thank our host committee who have helped gather a wonderful crowd of folks virtually tonight, so thank you all. And finally, most importantly, I'd like to thank our CSS staff and our young leaders who do the valuable work of CSS every day, trying to make every school that we support the most engaging and safe place for our students that it can be. I have the honor tonight of making the big ask of you all, asking you to consider contributing your valuable dollars to Center for Supportive Schools. We're trying to raise $50,000 tonight to support CSS, to support its continued growth, and also to support its ability to deliver its programming this year virtually. It's a challenging year for everyone, and we're doing what we can, if we can't go into the schools, to support them via Zoom and virtual programming. So we're hoping you'll all consider contributing. Any amount is welcome, and we really appreciate your support. We'd also like some of you to consider joining the Supportive Schools Society, which is our donors who give $1,000 per year for each of 5 years. And this really helps sustain us, sustain our growth as we look to expand our reach within New York, within New Jersey, and nationwide. If you're unable to give dollars tonight, we hope you'll continue to track our progress. Think about ways you might be able to help us besides your money. We welcome introductions and ideas, or even if you can just support mentoring initiatives in your own lives, that really supports the work of CSS. So with that, I will sign off. Thank you all again for joining us, and I will pass the mic to our excellent CEO, Daniel Oscar. So Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm Daniel Oscar, and I'm fired up by the young people that we've seen shine this evening. Let students lead. Let students lead. That is the heartbeat of CSS. One of our newest initiatives, the Youth Advisory Board, is another example on top of so many you've heard tonight of how we put that philosophy into action. The Youth Advisory Board provides a space where students from CSS partner schools across the country co-create, provide input, and give insight into our work. And aside from being an incredible co-host tonight, Janika is also co-leader, along with another Peer Group Connection alumna, Kiana Dixon, of that program, and an amazing role model for students who are participating. As we near the close of our program, I want to thank each of you for the support that you've given CSS over the last 41 years. While the time we're in now feels overwhelming more than anything we faced in my lifetime, CSS is a huge reason why hope is so alive within me. Schools are the foundation of democracy, and students are the foundation of schools. By unleashing the leadership talent of our students, we are strengthening our democracy and its capacity to overcome all the challenges we face. Thank you for being here with us and helping to support our students in schools. And now, back to Darius and Janika.
So, unfortunately, this celebration has come to an end. But before we go, we want to thank you one more time for joining us this evening to celebrate and support the work of CSS. We hope that you've been moved to think about ways to donate your time, talent, and treasure in support of young people in your communities.
We'd like to leave you with the voices of a few friends of ours, students from the Urban Assembly School for Music and Art. And don't forget, there is no better time than now to make a change.
Good night.
How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by impoverished squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar?
The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter. By 14, they placed him in charge of a trading charter.
And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the ways, he struggled and kept his guard up. Inside, he was longing for something to be a part of. The brother was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter.
And a hurricane came and devastation reigned. A man saw his future dripping down the drain. Put an answer to his temple, connected it to his brain. Then he wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain.
Now the word got around is that this kid is insane, man. Took a book collection just to send them to the mainland. Get your education, don't forget for what you came. And the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton. My name is Alexander Hamilton. And there's a million things I haven't done. But just you wait, just you wait.
My name was Tanner's father's bed, full of it, debt ridden. 2 years later, see Alexander's mother bedridden, half dead, sitting in their own sick, the scent thick. And Alex got better, but his mother went quick. Moved in with the cousin committed suicide, left him with nothing but ruined pride, something new inside a voice saying, Alex, you got it, please don't start retreating and reading every treatise on the shelf.
There would have been nothing left to do for someone lesser too. He would have been dead and destitute without a center restitution. Started working for his late mother's landlord.